Okay. So, hi. Can you tell us your name, please?
My name is Edwina Brown Thompson.
Excellent. Very nice. I recognize that name from somewhere before. I don't know where. But I heard that name. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself or anything you feel comfortable sharing?
Sure. I guess the most important thing I would love to share is that I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a soon-to-be wife, I'm a friend, I'm a co-worker. I'm a sister. So I play a lot of different hats and roles to describe myself.
That's wonderful. So you said you're a mother. You have, how old are your children or child?
I have one 22-year-old African-American son.
So let me ask you the very obvious question. Do you fear when he leaves you? Do you fear when he's out and about? Do you have any fear for his safety and his well-being?
Every day, I have a prayer that I say over my son every morning. He's away in college, so he's not physically with me, but I cover him every morning with the blood of the Lamb. So yes, I don't want to say I'm fearful because I can't live in fear and I can't have my son living in fear, but I am aware. I have a true awareness of what it's like to be the mother of an African-American son. So I am conscious and I speak words of God's protection and covering of the Holy Spirit every single day over my son.
Yeah, most Black mothers and fathers do, because we all live in that same place. Fear that our children make it home safely. That's
yes.
What we want our children to make it home safely.
Yes.
So what do you do? So what do you do for a living? What type of job do you have? Are you a manager, a director, and what do you do in your job?
Sure. Yeah. I work in a Fortune 500 company. I'm an account executive for another Fortune 500 company. So I get to see, how do I say this, what it's like to be the only one.
Yeah.
If we're going to discuss diversity, inclusion, whatever the moment of the day is for how we want to describe this, in corporate America especially, diversity, it really doesn't exist. Having the opportunity to see and be exposed to two corporate America Fortune 500 companies every day, it's almost disappointing of the lack of diversity that takes place. Ironically, my company is headquartered in St. Paul, Minnesota. So they've had the opportunity to feel firsthand with the George Floyd situation of what's going on in America. It's one thing to live in the Midwest and isolated and consider racism of African-American men to be a Southern thing. But it's another thing to have to face it head on in such a very dramatic format as George Floyd was in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, there have been a lot of open discussions that are taking place. Today, our executive VP held a conference call with his direct reports. Only African Americans were on the call. So when I received the invitation initially, I still to this moment don't know how I feel about this meeting that I had this morning. And the reason being is because it saddened me. He has 5,000 employees that report to him, over 5,000 employees that report to him.
Yep.
27 people are African American.
That's not even a percent of a percent. That's unfortunate.
No,
Do you find microaggressions or subtle hints that remind you that you are a Black woman? Do you encounter that in your work? If you're not comfortable answering,
I hesitate because my answer will probably shock you. No,
wow,
I don't feel it. I'm not sure because I am a female, and that I've been in the game so long, and I do call it a game,
yeah,
that I've learned how to mitigate some of those thoughts. Do I come in the most prepared? Do I come in the earliest? Am I the one who leaves the latest? Am I the one that's not joking around? Am I the one who's holding my head down, making sure every I is dotted and every T is crossed? Yes.
right,
So I don't give them the opportunity to single me out or give them a reason for any subtleness. Now, do I feel it? Yes. I'm being the only one. And then to make matters worse, I'm on a team of 8. I'm the only female and the only African American. So that brings up a whole nother level of problems with corporate America,
right,
of how can I be on a high performing team such as myself and be the only female, the only African American. So sometimes I almost feel like, why don't I have those experiences? Are my blinders up and I don't even know that they exist? But I'd have to say, because I spend so much time and energy making sure that is not going to be one of the obstacles for me, that maybe I do, and I'm just not aware of it, that I stay so focused on just being successful. And I really generate my energy towards positive things and making sure that I make a difference, that perhaps I have not spent my energy on some of those racial avenues that may be there, and I just knock them down and keep on moving.
right. I think that's a very interesting perspective. I'm almost exactly the other way. I face it so much because I like you, I am only Black female in meetings with my management. I have my staff, and I probably have the most diverse staff at my job. But even with that, I struggle to feel like I matter. And just like you said, I've got my head down. I'm first in, last out. I'm doing all my work. I'm trying to make sure everything's done. And I feel so unappreciated. And I'll tell you a story. So when I came to my job, I came because the school had failed an audit. So they hired me to kind of clean it up, and I did a job, and then they offered me a permanent job because the audit job was just supposed to be a contract, come in and clean it up and go on about your business. Well, so they thought I did such a great job. They said, hey, we're going to offer you this permanent job, which they did. Okay. And so now in this environment that we're in, we have few people of color in a predominantly white institution. And we're in the South, of course, so our history and all of that. And we've had leadership after leadership after leadership, and it's rare to see a person of color in senior leadership roles. So I'm a senior manager. That's supposed to be a high role. Well, they're directors, they're vice presidents, they're all these other things. I'm none of those things. And
Mhm.
no matter how hard I work, I probably never will. And specifically at where I'm, like, I'll never be the CIO there. I'll never be in charge of, everything there. But when,
Why do you feel that way?
because that's just really the way it is. So it's like, for example, when my boss goes away, I'm in charge of what, so I can't decide, like you just described, when you and your husband goes to the grocery, your fiance goes to the grocery store, you all go in different directions. Like, when we come to work, my boss is over there, a couple other people over there, and I'm here, and I have to ask him, can I go in that direction over there, or should I go over there? Or, can I have your permission to do my job? Um, I told this story a while ago about right after we first came home for COVID. We were, all four of us were sitting downstairs, my husband and my two kids. We were sitting downstairs, and we were talking about, how we're going to live in the house together, because everybody's working or going to school together, so everybody's going to pick a room and go to his or her own room, so we can
Right.
work. And so my boss says, I mean, can we talk? So, we use Teams. So yes, we had a Teams call. And so, and it comes through my speaker just like you and I are. And he's telling me something he wants me to do, which I don't want to do. And he says to me, I mean, just without even a care, I don't care what you think. And so my husband, my son, and my daughter, all their mouths fell open. Somebody speaks to you that way? Yes, most every single day. Someone speaks to me that way. And so I know how talented I am. I mean, people call me all the time. I got this technology problem. I fix it. Most times I don't charge people for it. I just do it. But, I mean, like, I'm 61, and I'm not even sure I want to work that hard anymore. I don't want to put that much effort in it anymore, because it's been so unrecognized, so unappreciated. And I mean, I'm not paid poorly now. Don't get me wrong. They pay me well. But my colleague, he, when I first came, what the story I started to tell you, I got lost in my own brain here. But he left, and so he was the back end of me. So I was the user experience, the customer facing,
Okay.
dealing
Yeah.
dealing with the issues that the user faces every day, where he was the back end, making sure the systems that we were providing were working. So
Yeah.
he walked into our boss's office, and he said, I want to be this. And if I'm not this by this day, I'm leaving. He was not this by that day, and he left. And what was said to me is, you have no choice. You either take this job or we're going to let you go. They gave me a 10% increase. And from that day on, I've been him and me for a job that I feel like I am just so invaluable. And people say, well, it's a perspective that you have. You have the wrong perspective. When people don't speak to you, people walk by you who know you, you're in a meeting, they don't look at you, they look down and look away when you walk by. I don't know what kind of perspective that is, but that's what I experienced. So I'm glad that there is someone who does not, because I feel it all the time, and I keep questioning, like, what am I doing? What should I be doing? But I have a mortgage to pay. I have a child to put through college. So I grin and bear it. But when Mr. Floyd was killed, it kind of did something to me that I'm not even exactly sure I understand. I just thought people needed to hear stories. So when he was killed, you turn on the news, CNN or whatever it is, and you see Black important people talking about it over and over again. You've got this person. But the people who were living down here in the trenches, they were not talking. So I decided to do these diversity chats. I told my boss I was going to do them. I'm going to do these diversity chats. And, it could cost me my job, because people are very frank. I mean, I've interviewed people that work where I work, and they've been very frank and very forward about what they've experienced there, Black and brown people, as well as white people. And I think that for me, this is kind of like a stress reliever. It allows me to get out of my own head, because like, if I stay in my own head, I'm just like, really, am I really this worthless, that this is how I should be treated? So that's why I started these. So I am very glad that you do not experience those, because it's a feeling almost like getting a beating every night and not knowing why you're getting a beating, and you're going to bed.
Understood.
you know, it's like,
And now, I mean, I'm going to challenge you. Is that the system or is that just that one individual? Because I mean, I can share stories of having a terrible manager throughout my career, but you know, that was isolated to that individual. It wasn't a symptom of the entire system. So the example that you gave me, is that the entire system or is that just this one particular individual's style?
it's two parts. So part of it is who he is, you know, who he is, and how he thinks things should be done. But we are like most organizations, like I imagine your organization, you have hierarchies, right? So you can be at the very bottom all the way to the top. We're flat.
Yeah.
So we have a president, then we have deans, and then we have the people that are underneath them, you know. And so
Gotcha.
in my institution, I am 3 people from the top, right? So
Gotcha.
And the story is told from the person that manages me, not from me. So they get their own version of who I am, right? So, and then on top of that, a lot of the people I manage don't look like me, and they take exception to that, you know. So it's kind of like one of these things where you're constantly running to catch up and you're not making any movement. You're just moving, you're just running, and they aren't going anywhere. But I think what really matters to me, you know, and I think what you said earlier, you know, about your prayer over your son, you know, when Everett was going to school every day, when he would come home on the weekends, he says, "Mom, on my way home." And you know, you have that little app on your phone called Find My Friends. So, you know, I'm following him every step of the way. If he ain't home in exactly 48, 50 minutes, I might have a heart attack. He just stopped on the side of the road to get something to eat, or he'd done something another. You know, so I'm finding my friend all the way till he pulls in the driveway, and I'm praying at the same time, praying the whole time, you know, because we're in the south, right? And so he's got 48 miles from our front door to his school and 48 miles back. And I pray. And you know, maybe that's an over, maybe not necessary, but I'm just so afraid. I could not survive if that happened to my child. I don't even think I would be able to contain my own life. And I have a daughter, she's older, you know, and she knows how to, but if that happened to even my husband, I don't even know how I would handle that, you know, because living while Black and you died for, you know, I mean, I don't know what infraction Mr. Floyd did. I don't, you know, I've heard rumors he had a counterfeit $20 bill, but my God, if he had a counterfeit $20, is that worth his life? Is that worth his life? I mean, and so many other Black men and women killed for just being and doing what people do. Like, you know, I remember when I first married Skip, you know, Skip is an explorer. He likes adventure. So, you know, we drive through neighborhoods where they're building new houses and we were going right. We never got out and went in the house, but, you know, we drive through this neighborhood, drive through that neighborhood, whatever, you know, these wealthy neighborhoods, you know, when I think about it now, the grace of God, because, you know, no one called the police on us. I'm sure there was some funny looks as we were driving, but the grace of God that nothing ever happened to us, you know. But I don't know if you listened to Skip's yet, but if you listen to it, he said something when we had our conversation that was so shocking to me. It made me more afraid for my husband than I had ever been in my life, because I didn't know this. But he's with his friends, he's young, you know, and he's surrounded by police officers with guns pointed at him. Mm-hmm. That's a Black person's experience in a country that we made. So when I hear things like "Make America Great," when the hell was America ever great to be Black people? When was that? You know. So what do you mean by that statement? Because almost every institution that is successful has been built on the back of somebody Black or brown.
I agree. So I want to share a story with you. I was talking to one of my colleagues about racism, right? So those examples of being pulled over and having a gun at your head and all of those kind of things, a lot of people can relate to that because it's so visual, it's so dynamic, it's so in your face. But this was an example that I shared with my colleague. And I said, this hasn't happened, but this is how subtle racism looks like. And I'm going to paint a picture for you. So it's my 22-year-old son and 3 of his friends. So it's 4 African American, 22, we'll say 21 to 24 years old, all college grads, Saturday afternoon in a suburban community, and they go into a bar and they get a beer. They all order a beer. The wait staff member will bring their beer and bring the ticket with it, the check with it. Mm-hmm. And they will stand there, basically saying, I need for you to pay for this check right now.
Right.
Unbeknown to these kids, one of the guys, they may even bicker back and forth, oh man, I'll get it. One of them will pull out their credit card and pay for the bill, and the wait staff goes away. They finish their beer. They decide, hey, I need another beer. So they have to wave down the wait staff person to come back over. We'd like another round. And the same thing happens again. That's scenario number 1. Now let's talk about scenario number 2. Same exact 4 young men who are white, same level of credentials, college grads, wearing the same exact clothes, just Nike shirts, jeans, nothing in particular. It's a Saturday afternoon. They order a round of beer. The wait staff brings the beer, walks away. The 10-15 minute rule for a wait staff to come back and check on the table. He or she notices that their beer mugs are halfway empty. Would you like another round? Mm-hmm. They nod their heads and say, sure. The wait staff person comes back, and now they've got 2 beers sitting in front of them. They guzzle the first one down and they drink the second one. They go through the same exact experience as my son did in getting 3 rounds of beer, but the check only came 1 time. That's subtle racism that a lot of white people don't understand or experience, because it's real easy to point the finger at a bad cop.
Right.
Because that's so extreme, so in your face, so just abnormal. But let's talk about the subtleties of racism that a lot of white people are just oblivious to. And when I shared that story with my coworker was just like in awe. He couldn't even fathom it. He couldn't even absorb it. He couldn't even comprehend what I was saying. But he was saddened by it.
Yeah.
And I often talk about, and me and you have all talked about this, and we do it amongst ourselves too. A group of Black boys walk by, you hold your pocketbook a little closer. Black women do it, white women do it. It's just society. So we have a lot to work on, besides just the in-your-face kind of racism that we see, but more of the subtleties that just go unnoticed, unaware, that we have to continue the conversations about.
The thing that, what your story just reminded me of is, when you go to the retail stores, and before it used to be a person that would show up, now they've got cameras and technology taken over, so, people following you out. May I help you?
Right. Yeah, I used to joke with my white girlfriends. It's like, look, you steal everything and I'll keep the security guards busy, okay? Right. All right, I want that pocketbook, I want that scarf and those pair of shoes, okay? You got me, girl?
And I mean, I think that there are so many instances of that. And, I was, ESPN is doing a series called 30 for 30 about incidents in history that happened. And Bruce Lee is one of them. And I knew a little bit about Bruce Lee, but I really didn't know very much about who he was and what it was. And his is called Be Water. And what the difference he paints in the storytelling, that the person who's telling the story, is that Chinese people, whether they were in America or whether they even in their own country, were never violent or they were docile. They accepted
Sure.
whatever they got.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what often crosses my mind when I think about things, when I hear things like that about why other groups aren't so vocal about subtle or overt racism, is that we did not come here seeking a better life. We did not come here through Ellis Island. We did not come here because we thought, wow, America, I can't wait to get there. You know, that was not where we were coming from. We were, you know, minding our business in our homes, and here we are. And so since we've been here, and I mean, I think this is true for every Black or brown group that there is and all the other spectrums that exist between Black and brown, except for white, that we are less or inferior. And we are made to feel that way almost every single time.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a security conference, a computer security conference, and a woman from American University had come to talk to us. And she was in charge of security for American. And she said, I've learned a new word. And we're thinking, okay, well, hell, there are lots of new words out there now. This can't be shocking. But the word she said was he-peat. And I said, can you say that again? She said, he-peat. And she went on to explain. She said, I can be in a room full of people and I suggest an idea and there's crickets. One of my white male colleagues will say the exact same thing, and all of a sudden it's the best idea anybody ever heard in their life. You know, it's like, you know, who discovered bread or water or the wheel or whatever it is. And she said, he-peat. And it's so factual. I mean, like in my life, it's almost every single day that, you know, that if I speak up and say, hey, I think we should do this, you get this subtle kind of nod.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, Rochelle, but we'll think about it.
Right. And then my colleague is sitting 2 or 3 chairs over from me, says, he just rephrases 1 or 2 words of the sentence, but it's the exact same sentence, you know. So I say, hey, let's try doing this risk assessment process using these tools. And he'll say, I think we should consider risk assessments for the entire building. And then what I just said? No, it's not what I said. It's what he said, because what I said didn't matter. And I think that learning that, how do I be docile? How do I be okay with that? How do I make myself demure, or shy, or mash myself down to say, okay, I'm all right with that? And I struggle with it all the time because, like, you know, I think a lot of the perceptions that people have is that I'm an angry Black woman. What I am is a very frustrated Black woman, and I am struggling every single day to survive in a job I've been doing for almost 45 years, and I am yet to be a CIO anywhere in the entire planet.
Understood. I will say delivery is everything. You know, one of the things that I've told my son is when in China, you do as the Chinese, but you still have to be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. Don't become Chinese.
Right.
But you do as they are and still walk away with respect and dignity. So it has to do with delivery. It has to do with factual, not opinions and things of that nature. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get your message across, get your ideas across, so that they are respected.
I agree with you, but if a white woman can't, I can't imagine how I could. Because I mean, she's one of them. You know, she's got all the credentials that they have. She's got all the.
Not necessarily. It depends on her deliverance. It really does depend on. I mean, I see it because I see it both ways. Since my world is so white, I wish I could say that every white man that walks through that door has this upper hand. It is still a caste system within that process. One of my colleagues, he's the smartest person in the room. I mean, in any environment, he is the smartest person in the room, but he's kind of quirky. He's just kind of quirky. And he won't get far because he's not charismatic.
Right.
He's just
quirky. And there's something to be said about personality, some soft issues or soft topics that can't be taught. It is who you are. You can be coached on some things, such as Toastmasters and taking public speaking sessions and things of that nature, but a lot of it has to come naturally as well. One of the highest ranking Black males at 3M is this really tall, quiet, soft-spoken Black man. And he's like he's my mentor. I look up to him, but he doesn't say much. But when he does, everybody listens. Mm-hmm. And I'm not really sure how he was able to get where he is. He's super smart, don't get me wrong. He has all of the credentials, everything behind him, all of the experience, all of the knowledge to go along with it. But somehow or another, he's maneuvered his personality to make it acceptable. Because the person I see at work is not the person that I know at happy hour or at his house or at the barbecue. It's just amazing how he's managed to figure out how to navigate the soft, unspoken pieces of being in corporate America to be successful, and let his credentials and who he is and what his contributions is to the company be in the forefront instead of his personality being in the forefront. And that's an art. That's an art.
Isn't that called code switching? Don't we all do that? We all know how to do that.
It's not, in his case, he doesn't talk any different. Actually, he still uses slang. There were days when I'm sitting there like, oh my God, did he just, not conjugate his verbs properly? I'm not really sure what to call it, but I get what you're saying. But somehow or another, he's been able to still be a brother, because he's not tight-knit. He doesn't come in all stiff-necked. He still comes in with that brother swag, but there's something about it has opened up the doors for him that has been acceptable or made it easier for his white counterparts to receive and accept him.
And I think that's more the exception than the rule, because I would say I could tell you just as many smart Black men, white men, whatever kind of man you want to be, and you just don't get your message across because, and I think even in my case, it's like, if you would have met me 20 years ago, and I'll tell you this about technology, so I don't know what you do, but like when technology first came on the scene, started out with the military and institutions out in California, it was called DARPANET and all that kind of good stuff. But when it finally came into the scene where IBM became the presence in computing, we were the black hole of the company. We swallowed up every dime to keep, and so we were hated. And so people used to make jokes that if you worked in computing, you just threw some raw meat in the closet and shut the door quick, so we didn't get out. And in a lot of ways that was true because we were smarter and we didn't understand the language that these people were speaking, so we were trying to tell them how to get what they want. So before ATMs ever became what ATMs are now today, automatic teller machines, the code for that had existed quite a while, but there was so much resistance to it because there were people like me, and I'm not just talking about Black, but I mean people like me who are putting this technology out there, and the higher spectrum of the organization didn't see that as reasonable, right? So ATMs launched in Britain, not in America. Whether they were more salient or I don't know, more docile, I don't even know what the word is, but we were not the first to do this. And I mean, so when you think about technology, where I came from, I came up in technology at the time where we were just absolutely scum, just really the worst people in the world. And so now I am 50 now. So 17 then, 50 now. And so for all this time I've been scum. So now all of a sudden I have got to be human. Well, I mean, you haven't been nice to me. You haven't said anything nice to me. You know, you always treated me like I was just coming to poison you or kill you or something with this new idea I had. And so I have to learn to change. And I think what you said about the young man at your job is like, for many people in IT, we did not have the chance to develop skills to be subtle or to be even passive. You know, we were aggressive because we knew we were fighting against the system that said you always are spending all our money. You don't know what you're doing. If the system breaks down, you know, how could you let this happen? You know, we had one guy at a job I worked in when I was very, very young, and you talk about brilliant. Oh my God, he could write code that could make the earth spin, but he didn't bathe. He didn't comb his hair. He dressed like he had just come back from the 50s hippie revolution or whatever that was, the 60s hippie. I mean, he you know, just nothing about him was appeasing. You know, he just didn't. And so no matter what he said, no one liked him. No matter what he told them to do, no one liked him. And this is a white man. And you know, it's really to see that. So then being Black, and so, and I don't know if I've told you this story before, but you know, I've gotten a scholarship to go to school in New York. I've made it to campus. Most of my family lives in New York, still does, you know, so I'm walking toward the campus. And, you know, as you walk, I don't know if this is still true now because I don't remember seeing this with ever, but we were walking toward the campus and there are all these people with these little kiosks there. And there was a white, chubby little white man, blonde hair, blue eyes, all that stuff. And he says, "Hey, we're looking to bring Negroes into computing." First of all, I didn't know what the hell Negroes was. First, I had to figure out what that was first, and then I had to figure out what computing was. So first, I got started to keep walking because they had called me the N-word so much. I didn't know Negroes was a form of that word, right? So
especially in New York.
Right. So and I looked at him, and he said that, and I was on my way to make my next step to walk by. He said, "I will pay you $30,000 a year." Before that man can get the per year out, can I start today? You know, and so that's how I started my career. And so it was very hard early on to grow and to get ahead. But, you know, probably by the time I was 40, maybe even 30, I no longer did the work. I managed people, you know, I managed people and projects and things of that nature. So I'd say one of the things I've learned from this conversation, which is very, very helpful, is that how you're perceived, whether it's right or not, may impact your delivery. So thank you for giving me that. That's very, very helpful. Now I have to start thinking about how to do that at my age, because, you know, I'm already on the way to senility. So, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna get there, but I'm gonna try. So we have about 5 minutes. So I'm gonna leave the last 5 minutes to you. And thank you so much for doing this with me.
I've enjoyed it.
Yep. So 5 minutes, all yours. Whatever you want to say, whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I get the last 5 minutes. I guess the main thing is we all have to be centered in who we are, regardless of what our goals are. We are all placed here on this earth to help each other. The focus can't always be on monetary and career growth. It has to also expand out along this, you know, a long ways, not always up, because God put us here all on this earth to touch other people and to spread his word. And I hope that out of all of this, the diversity discussions and chats that you're having, that you are on the right path, that we are all here to touch each other and to make each other better, and to focus in on God's word and just making everybody better.
I think you're absolutely right. Each time I do one of these, I learn something. You know, I mean, I have been amazed, even from white people. I learned things that I hadn't thought about, or I hadn't seen it that perspective. I did one this morning with a gentleman, and he came at it from the mental health direction. You know, he said a lot of this could be poor mental health on behalf of some groups. And I thought that was just pretty profound, because I never really thought about it that way. You know, like, you know, you're putting your knee on somebody's neck because you're having some kind of insecurity or something about yourself. And that made sense to me when I thought about it. So I really do feel like, at least for me, I don't know for anybody else, I learned something every one of them I do. I don't walk away thinking, wow, what a waste of my time. I walk away, wow, I learned something for every last one of these. So thank you
Nice.
so much, my sister, for this. And be well. Once this is
You too.
converted, I am going to send it to you for you to review. If you
Okay.
we can upload it. If not, we can do it over or not do it at all. So thank you. I
Thank
love
you. All right,
Bye.
it was nice talking to you.
You too. Bye.